We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Welcome back to Asean in Focus. This is Kaloy Tabunda Jr. from the New Era University Asian Studies Center. This afternoon we're very honored to have with us here the Honorary Consul of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan to the Philippines, Consul Michael A. Ang. Good afternoon, Mr. Ang, Consul Ang.
Good afternoon, Sir Kaloy.
Okay, Consul Ang has been the immediate past president of the Consular Corps of the Philippines. Immediate past dean of the Consular Corps of the Philippines, and is currently a board member of Manila Times and a resident agent of the Marine Surveying Company known as QBC Surveys.
Yes.
Okay, before we start the interview, Consul Ang, what's the difference between an honorary consul, a regular consul, and an ambassador?
Okay. An ambassador is the head of mission. And normally an ambassador would either be career or politically appointed.
Okay.
But would have to go through the normal process which all of the countries have in terms of clearing that particular person. In the case of the Philippines, the ambassador would go through the Commission on Appointments.
Okay.
Before his or her approval for posting or for the conference of the title of ambassador and subsequent posting to a particular country to represent his or her home country. Now, a career consul, the difference between a career consul and an honorary consul such as myself, to simplify it, an honorary consul, in terms of the expenses for the staff, for the office and everything, comes out of my pocket, as opposed to a career consul where they actually have a fixed or a set budget provided by their country to cover the day-to-day operations of that particular mission, and to also cover for other expenses that might be required for giving some type of assistance to their nationals in the host country.
So what are the services provided by the honorary consul,
Normally, the services provided by an honorary consulate or a full functioning consulate would be close to each other. It only depends on, or the only difference would be the scope of the said works. In my particular case, I provide assistance to my Jordanians, to my nationals, and also to their families who are with them here in the Philippines. In the case of, let's say, a full functioning consulate headed by a career consul general, then it would be the same. They would also give their assistance to their nationals if they are distressed or they have concerns or they need to authenticate or legalize documents, let's say marriage contracts, birth certificates. We have the same functions.
Okay, but you pay for most of the operations of the honorary consulate here.
All of it, yes.
All of it.
All of it. But you know, there are some cases where honorary consuls, such as myself, would be provided a reimbursement for certain expenses that was really important and had to be spent for the assistance to a national. Not to be morbid or anything, but in the case of, let's say, in terms of past experiences, one of my nationals who passed away in the Philippines. Given that that's something that is not prepared for, we know it's an eventuality that everybody passes away. But in that particular case, in order to bring the remains back to Jordan, because it was the wish of the family back in Jordan to have the remains of their relative back with them, we had to facilitate the transport of the remains from the town where he was living, to Manila, and then from Manila to Jordan. Unfortunately, there was no direct flight, so we had to go through another airline before we can get the remains on board Royal Jordanian Air.
Who reimburses that? The Jordanian government?
The Jordanian government, specifically the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates.
Okay, Jordan. Apart from the biblical background, why should Filipinos be interested in Jordan?
Well, as a Filipino myself, I love movies.
Okay,
do you? Okay, Jordan has been host to several movies. Are you familiar with Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Of course.
Okay, the scene there where they discovered, or where they found the Holy Grail, that's in Petra, one of the new wonders of the world. Specifically, the treasury, the main building or the main structure that is most famous around the world for Petra. If you are looking at something more new, more recent,
Yes.
we can cite one of the Transformers movies.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Revenge
that.
of the Fallen was there. It was part of it was filmed in Jordan. The Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
And
I showed that to my
Eva
students.
Green. Oh, that's a wonderful movie. Several scenes were filmed in Jordan.
Okay.
The battle at the end where
Yes, yes.
they were
The Crusaders versus the
where they were holding the fortress with the castle. That's in Kerak. That's
Kerak.
one of the most well-maintained medieval fortresses from the time of the Crusades.
Okay, so can you describe our diplomatic relations with Jordan, the Philippines and Jordan diplomatic relations?
It's a good relationship. We've had relations between the two countries, specifically the Republic of the Philippines and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan since the 70s. And that began, of course, with the visit of his late Majesty King Hussein and her late Majesty Queen Alia.
Yes.
This was during the long ago administration, I think, if I'm not mistaken, during the Marcos administration.
1976.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And from there, the relationship snowballed into bigger and better things. I personally am hoping, as the Honorary Consul General of Jordan here, to find ways to further increase and improve the relationship. Improve in the sense that balancing it out so that it's not just focused on the labor relations.
Okay. Okay. So I understand, was it last year when President Duterte visited Jordan, as well as, of course, Israel? They signed several agreements.
Yes.
Are you familiar with those?
There were, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 main agreements.
Okay.
One on the political consultations, memorandum on political consultations. The other one is the memorandum of understanding on investments between the Philippine Board of Investments and the Jordan counterpart.
Okay.
Another, of course, is the memorandum of understanding on labor cooperation, which is not new, but it was more of an updating
Okay.
to make sure that
Also, there was a previous labor agreement.
there were a few other versions of
Okay.
the labor relations agreement between the two countries. As I said, that became the initial primary focus in terms of the relationship between the two countries, the labor cooperations. So the Philippines actually provides quite a significant number of
We send laborers
laborers.
there. Okay.
We do. And for its part, Jordan has been very cooperative and very open to amending and updating these labor relations agreements, particularly with regard to things that can be used to address concerns to protect both, to provide more protection to both the labor force coming from the Philippines and to further provide the proper education as well on the side of the employers to make sure that there's proper understanding between the two different cultures.
So what do Filipinos do in Jordan? We have laborers there. What do they do there?
Well, the majority of our labor force are household service workers.
Okay.
Looking at percentages, definitely more than 90% of the Filipinos. The number, by the way, is around 40,000 Filipinos.
In Jordan.
In Jordan.
As domestic helpers mostly.
Yes,
So
as
the-
domestic helpers mostly. But as I mentioned earlier, one thing that I would love to contribute as the Honorary Consul General of Jordan here in the Philippines is to find a way to balance out the actual skills or backgrounds or professions of Filipinos going to work in Jordan. And that's been happening over the past few years.
Okay.
Or during my brief stint as Honorary Consul General here. I have seen and issued visas to more and more to some accountants, bookkeepers,
Okay, it's professionals
hotels
now.
and restaurant management professionals,
But mostly
workers
in
in
the,
spas.
mostly in the service sectors. Our
Definitely.
professionals are mostly in the
Definitely.
service sectors.
Yes.
Okay. And then what do Jordanians do here?
Well, if I can backtrack a bit, the Jordanians, there used to be, back in the 70s up to the early 80s, close to 10,000 Jordanians living in the Philippines.
Okay,
And they were all here to study. pursuing their tertiary level studies, their college degrees.
When was this? During the 80s?
70s up to the early 80s.
So the Philippines was still a very attractive educational destination then.
Well, as a Filipino, I still think that it is an attractive destination for education.
Okay.
Not just in our region, but for people even from Jordan. Up to now, I still touch base with a lot of these Jordanians who studied here, grew up here, and settled and established their businesses and their families here.
In the
and they
Philippines.
tell me, oh, Consul, I have another nephew coming from Jordan, and he's going to study in the same university where I studied. And so
what do
it's
they
good.
take up?
It depends. Some of them have taken up business, others have taken up dentistry, others have taken up other degrees in humanity. So,
Okay.
but
You said there are Jordanian investors in the Philippines. What
Yes.
are the businesses here, Jordanians?
most of these investors were actually from the group of Jordanians who studied here in the Philippines. They set up
okay.
their businesses or established themselves in the business sector by opening their manpower services to place Filipinos in GCC countries.
GCC.
Not just
Gulf
Jordan, but
Cooperating
usually the more affluent ones focused on placement in GCC countries. Then the others have opened up their restaurants. Some of them recently have gone into importation of Jordanian products,
Okay.
specifically Dead Sea products.
Oh, such as?
Dead Sea mud, Dead Sea salt, these two basic items infused in soaps, lotions,
Okay. So
creams.
That's allowed pala.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are only two primary players for the Dead Sea products, Israel and Jordan. I mean, we share, both countries share the Dead Sea.
Incidentally, how's your relationship with Israel?
It's good. It's good. Jordan and Israel support each other in terms of real world activities. A lot of the, in terms of what would interest Filipinos looking at traveling to the Middle East, a lot of them, when you tell them, Holy Land, pilgrimage.
Yes,
A lot of them are interested in that. Yeah, Petra. So, there's a lot of cooperation and collaboration between Jordanian companies and Israeli companies to maximize the promotion of the Holy Land, which includes big parts of the two countries.
Okay. You've been honorary consul since
2005.
2005, so that's how many years already? 14 years.
14 years.
And so far, how do you assess how do Jordanians regard Filipinos?
They regard us as one of their own. They regard us as brothers and sisters. There are a lot of similarities between the two peoples and the two cultures. If I may be a bit specific, and this might be jumping the gun a bit.
Okay.
Filipinos, just like any other Asians, we love our rice. We love having the rice in our meal.
You're not
in our
Filipino
meals.
if you don't eat rice.
Precisely.
Sometimes I'm guilty about that.
But would you believe that the national dish of Jordan is a rice dish?
Oh,
It's called mansef.
mansef.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a rice dish with the rice with the lamb, with the bread and the warm or hot yogurt. Yes, the yogurt you can drink it while you're eating that, but usually you pour it like a sauce on top of all of that. So you have a saucy rice dish meal.
So, do you think what are the other similarities between Jordanians and Filipinos?
We're both centered around our families. We love making sure that we have the regular family interaction.
Okay. So
It's
the Jordanians are family oriented.
Very family oriented.
Okay, and you've been there for the last 14 years. How do you find your assignment as a?
To be honest, I'll make a confession. Since representing the Kingdom of Jordan since 2005, I've only been to the Kingdom once. This was back in 2015. When my former ambassador, my former non-resident ambassador in Tokyo said that there is a conference for expats being organized by the office of His Majesty King Abdullah II. And he said that, it would be a good idea for you to go to this one because there will be more activities and it'll give you a better idea and a better sense of your role as an honorary consul.
But you find the job fulfilling.
I do.
If that's considered a job because you don't earn anything from it.
No, but it is a job, nevertheless, without the remuneration, but still very rewarding in a lot of other ways.
Okay.
Sometimes it might be something as simple as a family member sending you a WhatsApp message or sending you an email or just calling you and talking to you in broken English to tell you that they appreciate what you did or what I did to be able to find a way to get the relative back to Jordan, or for something as simple as authenticating a birth certificate so that they can their younger relatives can enroll in a school here, or at least provide them the opportunity by providing that legal document to.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. Species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Hi! Ito po si Imelda Papin. Meron po akong surprise sa inyong lahat. I will be celebrating my 45th year anniversary in show business. Ito po ay gaganapin this coming October 26. Saturday po yan, alas 6 ng gabi. Dito po gaganapin sa Philippine Arena. So, maghanda na po kayo dahil this is something different. Alam niyo po, gusto ko magpasalamat sa inyong lahat dahil na-maintain ko po ang career ko. Unang sa Panginoon, syempre po sa inyong lahat na nagsuporta po sa akin. Kaya, I'll see you all sa Philippine Arena at 6 o'clock in the evening, October 26. Napakarami ko po mga guests dyan. Hindi ko na po babanggitin isa-isa. Maraming salamat po. See you, October 26!
Welcome back to our interview with Mr. Michael Ang, the Honorary Consul of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan to the Philippines. Consul Ang, when one talks of Jordan, of course, you think of the Middle East. And Middle East is not necessarily one of the most peaceful regions in the world. So what comes to mind are terrorist actions. How is the peace and order situation in Jordan?
Well, just like any other country, when it comes to safety and security issues, there are a lot of concerns. Fortunately for me, I represent a country that takes safety and security of its people and the visitors to its country very, very seriously. So the peace and order is very good in Jordan. It's safe, it's secure, and as I mentioned earlier, we ensure that this is a top priority. You know, not just for the Jordanians, but also for its visitors.
So how's your relations with other countries apart from Israel? You mentioned earlier you have good relations with Israel.
Yes.
How about the other Middle Eastern countries?
I do believe our relationship with other Arab countries is very good. Again, I'm very fortunate to have to represent a country where the king, and even before him, his father, the late king, We're very serious about ensuring that there will always be an opportunity to talk about the problems, to thresh out the issues, and basically to sit and discuss what the problems are. That's always been the push of the Jordanian government.
Jordan is a constitutional monarchy, right?
That's correct.
So
Yes.
the head of the state is the king. Who's the king now?
His Majesty King Abdullah II.
Okay, and the wife is
Her Majesty Queen Rania.
okay.
Yes.
But then the one running the government is the prime minister.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so how's the relationship between the two, branches?
It's good. But I think at the end of the day, it's important for the king to continue what he's been doing in terms of if there are concerns by the people about maybe slow action, that he reviews the performance of the people in office, and if necessary. And there have been at least one case that I experienced personally, when there was a delegation coming to the Philippines to talk about the review of the former labor relations agreement between the two countries. The delegation from Jordan was being headed by the labor minister.
Okay.
And before arriving in the Philippines, at one of the stopovers, he informed the Philippine delegation, the Philippine group, that unfortunately he has to take a turnaround flight back to Jordan because the king had removed the entire cabinet
Okay.
in response to action being requested by the people.
When was this?
This was just a few years back.
Jordan is not an oil-producing country. Am I right?
That's correct. We have a lot of oil shale,
Okay.
but we don't have the traditional source of oil.
Okay. So what are the major industries in Jordan?
Well, tourism, definitely.
Okay.
The hospitality, of course, in relation to tourism. We also have medical tourism. We're one of the top...
medical tourism.
Yes,
Okay.
we're one of the top medical tourism destinations in the region.
Okay.
We also have some products in terms of minerals, and minerals basically coming from
To the Dead Sea.
From the Dead Sea that is exported as well.
So, how, if I'm a Filipino and I want to visit Jordan, what are the places that I should visit there? Must visits in Jordan.
Must
of course.
visit.
Apart from Petra, of course.
Yes.
It's a very popular destination.
Yes. Definitely, you have to look at. You have to visit Jerash. You have to visit
Jerash.
Kerak. Jerash is a very well kept, well maintained Roman structure. So it has the amphitheater, and they actually
yes.
perform. Actors go perform mock battles. So the visitors can actually enjoy a mock battle, so they can see what it was like during the Roman days when these Roman soldiers were fighting maybe some of the gladiators or some of the locals in
Yes.
in a new territory that they've entered. And you should also visit, of course, Mount Nebo.
Mount Nebo.
Mount Nebo is the mountaintop where God had showed Moses the promised land.
Okay.
He showed Moses Canaan and said, unfortunately, you cannot enter. But that was in Mount Nebo. And of course, the baptismal site of Christ
Okay, the
is
Jordan River.
Jordan River on the Jordan side, not on the Israel side. And that's recognized by the Vatican.
Okay, so Jordan River straddles two countries.
Yes.
You have the Jordan side and you have the Israel side.
Yes.
The Jordan side is where Christ was
Yes.
baptized.
Exactly.
That's in the Bible.
Correct.
Okay, you mentioned earlier that during the 70s and 80s there were many Filipinos here in. There were many Jordanians here in the Philippines.
Yes.
What were they doing then here?
They were studying.
And then
taking their college studies here
about
in the Philippines.
10,000 of them.
Close to 10,000.
10,000. And now how many Jordanians are here?
Unfortunately, nowhere near that amount. We have, based on our records, about 300, not more than 350 Jordanians.
What happened?
Well, possibly because more colleges and universities opened in Jordan.
Okay.
Excuse me. So it maybe to a certain extent remove that particular consideration from families, telling their children, okay, you're done with high school, so now you have to go to college. But there are a lot of choices locally, and the Jordanians being family-centered, family-oriented, course, just like Filipinos, we
They
would
would
want
rather stay
our
there.
kids to be
Yeah.
as close as possible to us.
I see there you have several figures. You have some figures of visitor statistics to Jordan. So these are figures of Filipinos coming to Jordan.
Going to Jordan, yes. Yes.
But right now there are at least 40,000 Filipinos working in Jordan.
Working in Jordan. But these numbers that I have in front of me are focused only on tourists.
Okay, so
going to-
can
going to
you
Jordan.
mention some of them?
Well, the current number in terms of 2018 numbers, you're looking at around 13,000 Filipinos who have entered the Kingdom of Jordan, tourists going into Jordan, and these are again the bulk being Filipinos who signed up for Holy Land pilgrimage tours.
So Jordan and Israel. It's a
Jordan,
package
Israel,
tour.
in some cases Jordan, Israel, and Egypt.
Okay.
But usually it's Jordan and Israel.
So they go. Normally, how long do they stay there, Filipinos?
Normally, from if they tell me when they're applying for their visas through the Honorary Consulate here in Manila, they want to see Petra, and they're just
Okay.
crossing the border from Israel just to see Petra.
Just to see Petra.
Normally, that's just one day. But in some
Okay.
cases, they'll fly in through Amman, through the capital city in Amman, go around the capital city a bit, see some of the other sites, go down close to the Dead Sea. But before going there, they'll go to the baptismal site of Christ, Jordan on the Bethany, and then make their way down to the south to Petra.
Okay.
So in those cases, the travelers would be staying in the kingdom for about 3 to 4 days.
Okay. And then, of course, these are the figures of Filipinos going to Jordan for pilgrimages. Why should they come to the Philippines?
Well, one thing that we try to do is we try to increase their knowledge and awareness about the Philippines, about the beauty of the culture, beauty of the people. One thing, of course, we highlight are the proximity to beautiful beaches. I
Okay.
mean, almost anywhere you go in the Philippines, there you have accessibility to nice beach areas. And at the same time, the similarities in our culture in terms of being family-centered, family-oriented, and the similarities in terms of the affinity for food.
Yeah.
Not just specific foods, but just the affinity for having a dish that you share amongst family and friends. And fresh quality fruits, those are really enticing. But at the same time, we want to take that a step further and show them that the Philippines is not just, of course, a tourist destination, but also can be a destination for business, for trade and commerce.
And perhaps even an educational destination again.
I hope
soon.
so. I hope so.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have a Philippine embassy in Jordan?
We do. The Philippines has had and maintained an embassy in the capital city of Amman for several years. The current Philippine ambassador to Jordan is Ambassador Sakam. He's a Filipino Muslim.
But Jordan doesn't have an embassy here in the Philippines. Why?
No, we have never had an embassy here, though there were talks that wherein I thought it was becoming close that we would open, that the Kingdom of Jordan will open an embassy here, but unfortunately we have not had an opportunity to take that process forward or take the necessary steps forward to create or to open a full embassy in the Philippines.
But do you think
it might be because of maybe economic concerns.
Okay.
Maybe an imbalance of trade between the two countries, not enough reasons to justify full functioning embassy in the Philippines. But maybe if we can find and fast track ways to increase the level of business between the two countries, I'm sure that would be something that the Jordanian government would not hesitate to consider.
But you're looking forward to that.
Definitely, definitely.
And what's your office doing to promote greater relations between the two countries?
Well, we promote the two countries to each other in terms of openly talking about business opportunities for trade, cultural and people-to-people exchanges. It has to start from there because without any reference for discussion, then how can you expect to have serious discussions about business and trade without the initial discussions about people-to-people or cultural exchanges?
Okay, we will talk more about the different issues surrounding Jordan-Philippine relations when Asean in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
Accurate and fair reporting. not only from Batanes
Okay, we're back with our interview here with Mr. Michael Ang, the consul, the Honorary Consul of the Asean Kingdom of Jordan to the Philippines. We were talking earlier of the different cooperations between the Philippines and Jordan, and of course you mentioned about the cooperation framework on employment of domestic workers. Since you said that many at least most of the Filipinos who are in Jordan work as domestic helpers. Apart from this, apart from the labor concerns, what else are the strong cooperation areas of cooperation between our two countries?
Oh, one thing that is top of mind, of course, is the global concern for safety and security. I mean, with all of the international concerns for terrorism or terror groups, which there's rarely, if I'm not mistaken, a country that can say that they're completely isolated from these concerns. I mean, we are a global community. So in that sense, Jordan and the Philippines has been working closely in terms of mutual areas of discussions and cooperation for helping each other out. To be more specific, His Majesty King Abdullah II donated 2 attack helicopters to the government of the Philippines to help the Philippine government in fighting terror threats within the Republic of the Philippines.
When was this?
The donation was done last year, but it actually has not come to fruition because the helicopters are not here yet.
Okay.
But having said that, the Filipino pilots who are undergoing training for piloting the attack helicopters are not done with their training either.
Okay,
so there's a process that must be followed.
Okay, but delivery will come soon.
It will come soon.
Definitely. Okay. Another here I read here, there's a memorandum of agreement between, of course, our Marine and Maritime Ministry Authority on behalf of the Philippines and the Jordan Maritime Commission on behalf of the Kingdom of Jordan concerning the recognition of certificates under the terms of the STCW Convention.
Yes.
So Jordan has a maritime industry.
Yes, it does. It's not big, but it's there.
Okay.
Again, a lot of people are not aware about Jordan not being a landlocked country. We actually have a small coastline that opens to the Red Sea. In that area of Jordan is called Aqaba. The town is called Aqaba.
Okay.
So that entry into the Red Sea is from that town. But Aqaba is not just about the maritime ports in Jordan, but it's also about spas, resorts, hotels, that's again geared for one of our top industries. But at the same time, it's also an area for expansion and growth in terms of inviting investors to come into Jordan. There is an Aqaba Special Economic Zone, similar to what we have here in the Philippines, the PEZA zones, where you have incentives in terms of certain business incentives for people to actually come in and set up shop within that Aqaba Special Economic Zone.
Okay, you mentioned earlier if you are to convince Filipinos to come, if you've got to convince Jordanians to come to the Philippines, of course, you're talking the beaches, you know.
Yes.
We have plenty of that, and then you have your tourist areas
Yes.
in Jordan. But apart from those, what else can you sell to Jordanians to really come and invest here in the Philippines?
I really believe that there is a huge market potential for Dead Sea products, particularly with regard to focusing on the affinity of Asian women, or even more specific, Filipino women, in terms of whitening products. Why not, I've told a couple of my Jordanians who have started importing Dead Sea products, why not look at the possibility of bringing in, by bulk, the raw products themselves and
then
tying
they'll
up with the
processed
local
here.
pharmaceutical
To be processed
to
here.
be processed here,
Okay.
so that you can combine the Dead Sea products into whitening soap, into shampoos, or into whitening creams, things that the local Filipinas buy on a regular basis,
Any concrete-
but make it more special,
Yeah,
you know,
and-
because it's infused with Dead Sea products.
Any concrete initiative on that?
There are discussions already with a couple
Okay.
of companies.
Okay. What about Philippine products? What do you want to sell to Jordan?
Oh, if we can find a faster way to bring our fruits, particularly mangoes, to Jordan, that would be great. I know of at least one Jordanian here who sends fresh seafood from the Philippines to Jordan.
Okay.
And it's pretty lucrative for him. So there's a lot of potential with that. I mean, given that we're an archipelagic country, I know that we can have
Yes,
a
yes.
lot of sources for fresh quality seafood that can be sent to Jordan. But another area of cooperation in terms of business might also be centered around, or can also be centered around halal foods or
Okay.
halal certification.
Okay, that's a very bright industry in the Philippines, and I think the Department of Agriculture is really developing that. So
Yes.
perhaps we can. But have you done representations with our Department of Agriculture already?
No, to be honest, I have not. But I know that in the past, past Philippine ambassadors have had those discussions with various government agencies in the Philippines, like the Department of Agriculture, for the possibility of that.
Okay, shifting to another topic, you were the immediate past dean of the Consular Corps of the Philippines.
Yes.
What are the activities of the Consular Corps of the
Well,
Philippines?
first of all, the Consular Corps of the Philippines is the formal organization in the Philippines for consuls.
Okay.
So these are from the rank of Consul General down in any embassy. Now, the Consular Corps of the Philippines was established back in 1971.
1971.
But
okay.
it was not. It was only until my term as dean of the Consular Corps that we actually incorporated the organization.
Ah, so
we
it's
are now
registered
a
now.
legal
Okay,
entity.
with the Securities and Exchange
That's
Commission.
correct. As a
Okay.
non-stock, non-profit, non-sectarian charitable organization, because of how the Consular Corps has evolved these past decades. Before, it used to be just a platform to help career consuls acclimate better to their posting in the Philippines.
Okay.
So it was limited to lunches, dinners. Over the years, it evolved into so much more. We do regular donations. We provide charitable activity. We provide charity funding to different charitable institutions. We are currently engaged, and we have been engaged over the past few years with environment concerns,
Okay.
particularly with
Climate
regard to reforestation
Okay.
of mangroves in specific areas
So your
that have been
partners are-
identified
your
by
partners
Conservation
are-
International.
So you partner with local government units?
We actually partnered with Conservation International because
Oh, it's an
Conservation
NGO.
International
Okay.
is an NGO, but they partner with local government units.
okay.
So Conservation International is in a better position to actually identify which areas are in most need of help in terms of reforestation of mangroves. So the current project that we have is in Mindoro,
Okay.
in the town of Silonay. And that area is actually part of the Coral Triangle. It's
Yes,
the
yes.
largest marine
center of the center.
biodiversity in the world.
In the world.
Yes.
Okay. I come from a university. I come up from an academic institution. So, are there any possible engagements within your group, the Consular Corps of the Philippines and educational institutions? For example, we offer a bachelor's in foreign service, and some other schools offer international relations. So, what are the possible areas of partnership?
Oh, several. To be really specific, when when I first became a member of the executive board of the Consular Corps of the Philippines, I was included in I was asked to join the community development part of the group. And one thing I proposed was a campus tour program, wherein the Consular Corps can bring our members and our information and the experiences that each of us have and share it. Not in a closed group that, in terms of people that we invite or institutions we invite to our regular meetings, but we actually literally bring it on the road.
You go to the universities.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we provide these universities with the speakers for specific topics that they can organize, and we ask them to provide the proper audience, students and faculty from very specific college programs.
Okay. The New University regularly hosts ambassadors, so perhaps we can have a program featuring your group, the Consular Corps of the Philippines.
That would
a possibility?
That would be fantastic.
So perhaps we can plan that out with the Eagle Broadcasting Company later. Okay, before we end, this has been a very interesting interview. Your message to Filipino viewers.
First of all, thank you very much for taking the time and viewing this program and providing me this opportunity to share information about the Kingdom of Jordan and its relationship with the beautiful country of the Philippines. And I do welcome all Filipinos to visit the Kingdom of Jordan soon. There are a lot of sites, biblical and not biblical, that you will experience, that will leave you with wonderful memories and a wonderful experience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Consul Michael Ang.
Thank you.
Very much, and we hope to invite you again in one of our future episodes.
Thank you. It'll be a pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much. And this is all for now. I'm Kaloy Tabunda, and I'm 1 with 25.